Hey everyone, Mr. Sujano here, your source for gaming tech, emulation, and open source news. Let's get started. Alright, to kick things off, we're talking about PlayStation 2 emulation on Android with ARMSX2, and it seems that ARMSX2 is making some very cool progress. So taking a look over on their Discord, and they've announced that online multiplayer is now working thanks to the newest member of their team. I think this is a huge step forward for ARMSX2, and let me know your thoughts about this in the comments below. And speaking about PlayStation emulation, next up we're going back one generation, and instead of PlayStation 2, we're talking about PS1 or PSX. And instead of ARMSX2, we're talking about ARMSX. Not joking with ya. ARMSX is going to be a brand new PS1 emulator. So here's their official announcement up on the ARMSX2 Discord. They're introducing ARMSX, a fork of the PS1 emulator PSXE, which before now did not have a native Android, iOS, or Xbox UWP port. PSXE as it stands is a very work-in-progress project that hasn't seen updates for over a year. Thanks to Moon's work, PSXE, or rather our new fork, ARMSX, a number of new features will be present, including the implementation of a UI, an OSD, full screen support, fixes to compiling issues, memory card support, implementation of save states, MGUI front end for PC, Discord-rich presence, and more. Now, it is worth pointing out, ARMSX has not officially released just yet. It is currently a work in progress. And taking a look here, they say it will be on the Google Play Store as well, potentially on the App Store too. And they are going to be working on a new website for it. They do note that it's not a replacement for DuckStation. Rather, this is Moon's personal PS1 project that can be viewed as a secondary option. And speaking about updates, next up we're talking about ROMM or ROMM or subscribe to Mr. Sujano, depending on how you wanted to pronounce that. Anyways, ROMM is a beautiful, powerful, self-hosted ROM manager and player and just got a very important update. So at the time of filming, version 4.4.1 is the latest and greatest update. Now with this update, there's a number of minor changes and fixes. However, I would say the big part about this update is the security updates. They say this release patches 2 high and 1 moderate security vulnerability. I mean, they say here an attacker who already has an account with any role on the instance can, with a special crafted link, gain full administrative control, create a new admin account, or escalate their own privileges. All previous versions are affected, and all server owners should update to this version as soon as possible. And speaking about updates, next up we're talking about Deecy, which is an experimental Dreamcast emulator written in Zig. And Deecy just got a brand new update. So at the time of filming, version 0.5.3 is the latest and greatest update of Deecy. Now with this update, there's a number of fixes here and brand new stuff. They've added a cache for game images, speeding up subsequent startup times with large game libraries. That's a nice performance improvement. On top of that, they've improved interlace support, fixing some games that were running at half their intended speed. Again, another nice performance improvement. They've also improved the handling of axis-aligned sprites when upscaling, reducing or eliminating visible seams in some cases, and even more. And speaking about Dreamcast, next up here we're talking about Dreamcast and GIMP. If you use Linux, chances are you're very familiar with GIMP, a free and open source image editor. Anyways here, this is huge in my opinion. They say, let's get a round of applause please for GIMP Official for adding first-party support to GIMP 3.2 for importing the native PowerVR compressed texture format used by the Sega Dreamcast. That is a huge win in my opinion for the entire Sega Dreamcast scene. And speaking about images, kind of, well, that was a really bad segue. PYBOY displays images because it's an emulator. There we go. Close enough. I'll work on that. Anyways, we're talking about PYBOY, which is a Game Boy emulator written in Python, and PYBOY just got a brand new update. So at the time of filming, version 2.6.1 is the latest and greatest update for PYBOY. And with this update, there's some fixes and brand new stuff, performance improvements and accuracy improvements. They've improved CPU correctness around interrupt handling, and also miscellaneous CPU performance improvements. And on top of that, there's refactor memory fetching for CPU execution for more performance, and refactor tile and sprite cache for more performance. If you are interested in this one and wanted to learn more about it, Like everything we talk about, link will be within the GitHub link in the bottom of the description below. I don't hide my sources. Next up, we're switching from one emulator to a bunch. Well, something that handles a bunch of emulators. We're talking about Provenance, which is an iOS and tvOS front end for multiple emulators. And Provenance just got a brand new update. So at the time of filming, version 3.2.0 is the latest and greatest update. Taking a look here, I could have used the performance as a great segue into this one, or stuff that starts with P. Anyways, here, they say we're excited to announce Provenance 3.2.0, a major update focused on performance, skins, and quality of life improvements. This release brings highly requested features and fixes that make Provenance faster and more enjoyable than ever. So the biggest news here, they even say it the biggest news, full skin support is now available to all users, no Provenance Plus required. We believe everyone should enjoy customizing their gaming experience. However, if you love what you're building or what we're building, please consider supporting the project through Provenance Plus or Patreon. Now, what's interesting here with skins is they've dramatically improved performance, faster rendering, loading, and smoother UI. And there's also memory optimizations, more efficient skin storage and rendering. And also RetroArch core support. Skins now work across all emulator cores. On top of that, they say there's now a faster main library. They've significantly improved scrolling and navigation performance. For Dreamcast, faster emulation speed, Windows CE-based games are now supported, and full networking support is enabled. For ROM management, they've rewritten the ROM importer and even more, and they say significantly improved artwork matching, more comprehensive, faster, and more accurate. This is a huge update for Provenance. And speaking about skins and visual improvements, next up we're talking about Burger Time for the Game Boy, or I guess Game Boy Color now. Listen to this tweet. Burger Time Deluxe Colorization hack is out now for the Game Boy Color. A very good remake of the original 1982 Burger Time that also acts as a perfect example for a colorization hack tutorial. And it looks pretty good. At the time of filming, version 1.0 is the initial and latest release of this, and I'm wondering if it will get updated as time goes on. It is open source and available on romhacking.net. And speaking about version 1.0, next up we're talking about EmuSync. EmuSync is pretty new, and for those who are unaware, they say game save files are stored in different places across OS platforms, which can make syncing a challenge. EmuSync aims to simplify this by mapping locations from multiple devices to a single sync point. They go on to say, EmuSync has primarily been designed and developed for a Windows PC and Steam Deck, but it should work on any modern Windows or Linux device. And version 1.0 is the Version 1.0.1 is the latest and greatest update. So overall, this is still pretty fresh, and as a result, there may be bugs and issues with it, but the developer does seem to be very active and taking feedback to make things better. And speaking about fresh stuff, next up here, we're talking about GameHub, and GameHub has just dropped a fresh new update. It's worth pointing out there is a difference between GameHub on the Google Play Store and the GameHub version that can be downloaded from their website. Arguably, the website version is better than the Google Play Store version. Anyways here, taking a look with the latest and greatest update, and there's not a whole lot of information here, but there is some. Unfortunately, I haven't seen any performance testing just yet with this version, but they say they've added customizable controller sensitivity settings for more precise and smooth gameplay. However, and the big however here is it appears there are some issues with this release. This person says it doesn't open any game for me. This person here says you can download games quickly again, no more limited download speed. Awesome. And this person says don't update because games will force to close. This person says found a solution, just click and add new game and give the file storage permission, it will work. But it did require a Steam login. Next up, we're talking about Hytale. And if you're a fan of Hytale and the recent announcement that Hytale was back in action in terms of development, well, you're going to like this news here. So first and foremost, I don't know if there's any resemblance between that person and me, but who knows. Anyways, I guess they're going to announce the release date for Hytale next week. That's not releasing next week. It's the announcement for the release date next week. On top of that, there's a brand new blog post here talking about their modding strategy. I recommend checking out this article for more information on the matter, and they do say that modding is at the core of Hytale. However, and the big however here, they say now for the blunt part, we are behind where we want to be. We are missing years of development time that we now need to compress into months. There are gaps in our tools, our documentation, and the ways systems are exposed. Some features exist only because they were hacked together during prototyping and never polished. They go on to say they've made a deliberate decision to ship access now instead of waiting for perfection. You will run into limitations due to missing editing capabilities. Certain aspects of client behavior are not yet exposed to the server. Some tools and systems are rough, inconsistent, or painful to work with. Modding maturity is wildly uneven depending on what you want to build. I wouldn't say that this is great, but at the same time, I think it's a miracle that the game is even going to see the light of day. There's a whole lot more that we're not going over here, and from my understanding, the game is going to be priced around $19.99 US. Let me know your thoughts about that in the comments below. And speaking about upcoming games you may be excited about, next up here we're talking about vampire crawlers. If you're a fan of Vampire Survivors, if you're a fan of deck builders and roguelikes, you might be a big fan of this here. So Vampire Crawlers was just announced, and they say it's coming day one with Xbox Game Pass in 2026. And this game is being developed by the exact same person behind Vampire Survivors. Now, unfortunately, I don't have a release date. I don't have a price for this just yet, but it is set to release sometime in 2026. Let me know your thoughts about this one in the comments below. I, for one, am excited and looking forward to it. And speaking about exciting stuff, next up we're talking about Android and iPhone. If you've got an iPhone and you're kind of disappointed that your friends with Android couldn't receive AirDrops, and vice versa, I guess, if you've got Android and your friends have iPhones and you can't get AirDrops, well, that is changing now. Android and iPhone users can now share files starting with the Pixel 10 family. So it is worth pointing out that this is rolling out first to Google Pixel 10 devices and then will be rolling out to more devices as time goes on. And they're saying now that Quick Share will be compatible with AirDrop. Let me know your thoughts about that one. And last up here, we're talking about 8bitDo. And if you're a fan of 8bitDo and, well, N64 inspired controllers, but maybe a more optimized version of the N64 controller, you might be a fan of this here. The 8bitDo 64 Bluetooth controller for the Analog 3D is available to be pre-ordered, and it starts shipping on January 30th. Now, it is worth noting that both the black and the white versions can already be purchased, but let me know your favorite colorway in the comments below. I would argue that the gray one looks way better than the others, unless you've got the black Analog 3D and wanted a black controller to match. But at the same time, I mean, I just think that looks really good. But anyways, that is all I've got for you in this one. Straight to the point, all stuff and no fluff. I'm not feeling 100% today, but we're putting out a video anyway, and I'm wondering if I picked up something on my travels home. Who knows? Anyways, we talked about a bunch today. Feel free to discuss anything we talked about in the comments below. If you like this video, leave a like. If you didn't like this video, leave a like. Hit that subscribe button. Check out my other videos. Don't tempt fate. Save your state.